I want to ask you a little bit about what are your thoughts about the whole, I know we touched on it just briefly, but the cholesterol myth. And people think, I got to bring my cholesterol down to 110 or 120 or some crazy low number that these doctors are telling them. What do you tell people who ask you about that, or who ask for your advice about what you think they should do?
Cholesterol is a very interesting topic because it's so driven by fear. If your cholesterol is over 200, then you need to be on a statin drug. It's a great way to sell drugs, man. And soon, give it a couple of years and that number is going to be 180. And give it a couple more years and that number is going to be 160. And they're just looking for a bigger population. Cholesterol is, partly what your cells are made out of. It's really important. It's also a repair substance. And so when you encounter some type of oxidative stress, we'll say nicks and scrapes within your arterial lining there, cholesterol comes there to repair the damage. It's kind of analogous to saying, hey, whenever I see a fire, like a house on fire, I see fire trucks outside. So I must assume that the fire trucks caused the fire. No, that's not the case. Something else caused the fire, and the fire trucks and the firemen are there to repair and put the fire out, and that's what cholesterol does. A really interesting fact about cholesterol is that 50% of people out there who have heart attacks have quote-unquote normal cholesterol levels. You know what I mean? Wow. That are below 200. And so we have to stop, really vilifying cholesterol. It's a very important substance for the body. It's key. It always befuddles me how, cholesterol, yes, is found in the plaque in the arteries. And again, it's a repair substance. But, also there's a lot of calcium in there as well. Mm-hmm. So why don't we vilify calcium at the same time? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And so we should start to question our doctors. And another fact that is kind of mind-blowing is that for women, I believe it's over the age of either 50 or 60, I can't recall, the higher your cholesterol, the longer the lifespan. And so we've got all these women out there, these older women who are on their statin drugs trying to drive their cholesterol down. It's actually shortening their lifespan. And so, that was something, these things that I'm talking about right now is something that really threw me for a loop at first. And I really had to dig deep and read a few books like The Great Cholesterol Myth or Great Cholesterol Con, I believe it was, by Anthony Colpo. Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes, to actually find out like, hey, this stuff is really backwards and it doesn't make sense, and cholesterol is very, very important. Now, and I can't give you all of the details behind this because I haven't studied it. I don't want to say that cholesterol is no problem for anybody, because when cholesterol is really, really high, if you got familial hypocholesteremia, your cholesterol is 300 and way up there, and that's a problem. So we do have a lot of people saying don't worry about cholesterol at all, and I don't agree with that. There's a happy medium there where it should be. It shouldn't be too low, and it shouldn't be super sky high. So we have to take that into consideration. And one more thing that I got from Chris Kresser, who was a participant in the Real Food Summit, and he did this is the Paleo Summit. His presentation was on cholesterol, is that when you have your cholesterol taken, because your doctor will just take one cholesterol measurement and be like, oh, it's 201. Maybe we should consider getting you on a cholesterol lowering drug. Or if it's higher than that, they'll scare you into getting you on a cholesterol lowering drug, because if you don't take that drug, you're going to die of heart disease. Well, the thing is that I think the standard deviation for that cholesterol score is like 35 points. And so it can swing 35 points either way at any time of the day. So there's a 70-point, swing there on both sides together. And so we have to keep that in mind. So I highly recommend that, people go and have their cholesterol rechecked, get it done at a different time of day, go in 3 or 4 times and see where it is. Don't just depend on one number to get you on a cholesterol lowering drug.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So I've heard recently that cholesterol is a result of sugar and insulin causing inflammation inside the arteries. Is that what you've been able to determine as well? Or what's the connection between sugar and cholesterol? Because a lot of people think that it's the cholesterol foods like the egg yolks and things like that. But I've heard that it has more to do with insulin and sugar. Is that kind of what you've heard?
There is some truth to that. To be honest, it's not really, this is something I know a little bit about. I would recommend that you talk to just get better answers. I would recommend you talk to Kresser or to Chris Masterjohn. Talk to one of those guys and they'll give you the full detailed analysis on that. I haven't truly studied cholesterol for about 2 years. It was something that I was really deep into for a while, but since then I've kind of simplified my approach and have just gone towards a just more eat real food type of approach. And so I can't fully answer that question for you, but I do recommend Kresser or Masterjohn. They'll be all over that.
Yeah, that's cool. I have emails into both those guys to be on our show, so that'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, they will light you up for a good hour and a half about this cholesterol stuff, and so hey, I think they'll do it better justice than I can ever do.
Nice. Yeah, I've also heard too, or read somewhere, I can't remember where I get all this information, but I've heard that it was, I think in order to make hormones, your cholesterol needs to be at least 150 or something. So
yeah, and that's one thing that people forget about. Kim Schutte, who's a practitioner out here and health coach out here in San Diego area, she had a presentation with the Real Food Summit where she talked about erectile dysfunction and how she's been able to correct erectile dysfunction with her clients with adding traditional fats to their diet. So eating the skin on the chicken, eating the beef or the fat on the beef, consuming more butter and coconut oil, because at the roots of your hormones is fat and cholesterol. So if you do have a diet that's low in fat and cholesterol, well, if you're not making the precursors to your hormones, you will find that your hormones will go askew, and it's certainly something that you don't want to have. I did hormone testing with my clients for a good 2 years. I really don't do much one-on-one coaching anymore, but looking at people's hormones, looking at their cortisol curves, looking at their estrogen levels, their DHEA, their testosterone, their progesterone, I never saw a normal test. Ever. Wow. Everybody was way off. And, of course, there's going to be some stuff going on with people, but the huge imbalances that I saw, I mean, they can be attributed to many things, but one thing certainly is this low fat, low cholesterol mantra that's been kind of handed down from our, these dietary associations as well as our government. It's absolutely backwards. And really, it's just a great way to sell Viagra. It's a great way to sell statins. It's a great way to sell drugs for diabetes, because people are replacing the fat with sugar. And it's not really working too well. People's insulin is out of control. Their blood sugar is out of control. And, I think the stat is that, 1 in 2 non-African American babies born in the year 2000 are going to get diabetes at some point in their lives. 2 out of 3 African American babies born in 2000 at some point are going to get diabetes in their lives. And it doesn't really have to be that way. We've just totally just vilified fats. And actually, while we vilify the saturated fats, we've promoted these polyunsaturated fats, which are the rancid, oxidized, dangerous fats, these vegetable oils that are the cause, or one of the many causes of a lot of the issues that we have right now, including cancer and heart disease. And so it's totally backwards, and we need to kind of flip it around and get with it and educate people.
Yeah, I hear you. I've heard from Dr. Hal Huggins that the optimal, according to him at least, that the optimal cholesterol levels are, what he says is somewhere around 220. But each doctor has their own opinion. But I mean, whatever the case, that's way higher than the 140s and 150s they're trying to get people to. But I want to take a quick break here. But when we come back, as you know, it all comes down to digestion. Almost the whole thing comes down to digestion, and that's one of the first things I want to talk to you about when we come back from this break. How to improve people's digestions and how digestion causes breakdown